Hello friends, Tanya here for Spellbinders, and today I am doing a wiper card using the large die, the embossing folder of the month, and the clear stamp and die of the month. We're going to start out with the large die of the month. It's called Thankful Tractor, and these are the pieces that I'm going to be using. I did go ahead and die cut all of them with various colors of cardstock. I've got two different reds, a black, a gray, and a white. We're going to take the large tractor tire and line it up with the embossed marks on the tractor body that's already been die cut, and we'll do the same for the small one. And you can see the deep embossing on here. It is so easy to assemble this tractor. We're going to take the larger center of the wheel that's been die cut in gray, and we're going to take the same piece for the smaller wheel and line that up, and I'm going to continue assembling the wheels. The wheels are the super easiest part. I love that the embossing guides you right through this, and that there are such detailed dies to create all of these different pieces. It makes this a snap. Now, I grew up in farming country, and I still know a lot of people who are farmers, and this is actually going to be a birthday card for one of my coworkers' husbands. They both of them work full-time, and they also raise steer or beef cattle, and their tractors are all red. So that's where I went with the color scheme for this card. And his birthday is next week. Perfect timing. Now this is again another 5x7 wiper card that I'm creating, and it's going to have a scene built into it. I'm not the best at building scenes, but I am getting better with it. Just like everything else, practice makes perfect, and sometimes you just really need to exercise that muscle of your brain on the scene building. Now this is the cab of the tractor, and I die cut that with black, and because I used it's probably like a 65-pound weight black cardstock, I did double this up because I wanted to have a little extra stability, especially since this part of the tractor is not going to be glued directly to a card base. I want it to have a little extra strength of its own. Now it's taken me a little time to get this video voiceover done. I had actually created this card probably a couple days before September 1st, but it's been a wild week. This is like the first time my husband and I have had time off together for more than 2 days in a row in probably since April when we went on our last vacation. So we decided to go see our daughter who lives in Minneapolis, which is a 4-hour drive from here, and we left yesterday, and we are back by noon the next day. And yeah, now I'm going to try and squeeze a little voiceover in before we go play mini golf with one of my other children and their grandkid, or the grandkids there. We went to the Mall of America yesterday and went to the aquarium and ate at the Rainforest Cafe for the first time ever, and our little 3-year-old granddaughter had the time of her life. We had a great time. And now we're going to enjoy some time with child number 3 and his kids, and tomorrow we're going to take time to spend time with our 4th child. Next we're going to, sorry, I got so far off track. Did you notice that that tractor even has a seat and a steering wheel? So cool. Next we're going to play with this stamp set, the Fall Gnomes Clear Stamps and Dies of the Month. And I'm going to do some simple Copic coloring, 2 or 3 colors per blend. And I'm going to try and color all of the images that are of the same color at the same time to reduce the number of times I have to change the colors I'm using. I did put all of the Copic colors in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, so if you want to replicate this, you can. And as you can see, I stamped each of these images twice on a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch paper. This is, I'm not sure if this is Hammermill or if this is Nina Solar White. Either way, it's a nice quality cardstock. And we've got a sunflower, a pumpkin, an apple, an acorn. Here's the browns I'm going to use. I did not put those in the upper corner since it was easy to see those when I showed them on the screen. Sometimes I can't really capture those images very well. And I'm still learning how to keep my camera in focus. And I just use the camera on my phone to do all of my videotaping. And I got a new phone this spring, and yeah, it's always a challenge, isn't it? I'm using the same greens for all of this, and the same browns and the same yellows and oranges, and I will even incorporate the same colors in our little gnome fellows clothing and coloring. I do add some little dots of colors in the centers of the sunflowers. Here we've got a nice apple, a couple of reds here, and this did not color or didn't blend as easily as I thought it would. So I do go back and add more of the darker color and just keep that red, the lighter red, the R24, I believe, for the highlight in the center. Our little gnome is going to have a brown beard. I know I see a lot of white beards on these little gnomes, but I prefer to add some other colors like brown and blonde and red. And yeah, there's so many. I haven't done a, no, I may have done a black beard. It's a little tougher with blacks because you lose the definition of all of your other lines when you use too dark a color. And as you can see, I did not get the best stamping with all of these. I did use my Misty. And this is a fun, now to me this looks like the Carhartt color. So I used the YR27 and the E23 to get that color for his little jumper. And again, I think that looks like Carhartt, which is kind of a khaki, more towards the gold color khaki. Lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh, I stamped all of these images once on the cardstock, and I left all of the stamps in the Misty, and I will go back and re-stamp over the top of the Copic coloring to sharpen up the lines. I really enjoy doing that. It adds extra detail where you've lost it with the Copic coloring. I do add an extra set of greens here for the second stripe. I was really thinking kind of camo colors here for our farmer gnome, because where I live, Carhartt and camouflage are like a uniform. And our farmer is definitely going to be tanned because he's going to spend a lot of time in the outdoors. Okay, tanned for a Norwegian. We are in Minnesota. There are lots of very fair-skinned people here, and we don't get sun for most of the year, or at least we don't get sun that you want to go expose any skin to. And here you can see that I, oopsie daisy, die cut my little gnome out before I restamped him, and I just slipped him back inside the cardstock and taped him in there and then used the Misty to still stamp it. Next, we're going to do the wiper portion, and this is the dimensions of the cardstock, so 7 by 7, and then a couple of pieces that are 3 to 4 inches by 7 inches, and we're going to score each of those at 1 inch and 2 inch, and this is the base of our wiper cards, and I'll show you how to make the wiper mechanism. It's actually quite easy. This is a style of card that has been around for a long time. I know that I remember making these when I first got into stamping or card making, which was in 2006. We're going to use this large die of the month from, I think that's a July of 2021. It's a slimline length, curvy edge, and this is going to be our hills and our sky. I've got some distress inks in Salvaged Patina and Rustic Wilderness. Is that it? Yeah, Rustic Wilderness. And I've got the brand new blender brushes from Spellbinders here, and we're going to ink blend on these to give them some extra depth and character. If you like it to be very crisp and clean, then skip the blending. I, however, like to add the blending. I love the spatters, I love the ink splotching, I love the distress inks in all of their properties. Next, we're going to create this wood panelish looking piece that is a piece of white cardstock that I cut to 5 by 7 and trimmed off about 1/8 of an inch on each side so it'll fit nicely in the background. Now I scored at 1/2 inch intervals. No, did I? Yep. I alternated between 1/2 inch and 1 inch. And we're going to use the Scattered Fall embossing folder of the month. Now I've taken the embossing folder and flipped it over so the printed side, the portion that has the name and the number, are flipped upside down and embossed that. And now I'm going to go back over that so the impression is pushed down, and that is the floral image. And we're creating a darker background by taking the Salvaged Patina Distress Oxide and rubbing that directly ink pad to paper over the entire piece. And this creates kind of a burned wood burning effect, or it looks so amazing. I love this. So this is going to be kind of our sky background behind everything. And you certainly wouldn't have to do this. I wanted to do this technique, and I really wanted to add it to this card. So I did. I may have gone a little overboard. Now that extra layer of paper in the background may have messed up my dimensions just a little bit. Either that or I did not cut very accurately, because you're going to see that my right-hand side flaps don't line up perfectly. I do get the left-hand side adhered first, and as you can see, I did some folding on these. The ones that are on the front, you do a mountain and then a valley, and on the other side you do a valley and then a mountain. So now I'm adhering the left-hand side, the front part, to the left-hand side of the back, and you can see where we don't quite match up exactly. I'm not sure how I messed that up, but I have done this before, and my measurements work if you don't mess it up. So this is just a strip of 3/4 inch wide cardstock, and I took and marked the 1 inch mark and drew a line with my pencil. And now I'm folding this down so that the edge meets the 1 inch mark and creating this triangle. Now this is our wiper mechanism. You're going to adhere the top triangle only. So that's the triangle that's not connected to your wiper piece. And you're going to adhere that towards the center of the card. So that's going to be, so if you did it from the top and you were having your wiper go towards the bottom of the card, then you would have the triangle portion towards the middle of the card. So flip it around. That sounded very confusing. I am so sorry. It's a good thing that the video shows you. Now, once I have my wiper in place and I know that it is not going to stick out above the rolling hills and not out the bottom of the card, we can go ahead and adhere the other sides. Now, don't worry about the gap that we have on the other side. I'm going to fix that. We're going to adhere our tractor and our little gnome fellow directly to the cardstock. Actually, I lied. The tractor's directly to the cardstock. And I added a little extra pieces of cardstock scraps behind the bottom of the gnome to pop him up a little bit so that the tractor is behind him. Next, we're taking some of these sunflowers and we're adding them behind the fold so that when you open the card all the way up, there will be more to be seen on the left-hand side under those accordion folds. Next, we're going to figure out where we want our little pumpkin, and I decide I want that to be by the back wheel of the tractor. we're going to take the little sunflower head and we're going to place that right at the bottom of the stalk of the sunflower. And the apple is going to hang out by the pumpkin, and we're going to throw this little acorn next to both of those. Now we have a large space below our images to put our sentiment, and here's where we're going to fix that gap. So I'm just going to take my guillotine trimmer, line up the edge, and get all of that extra cardstock trimmed away. And as I'm looking at this, I'm deciding that I actually want to trim it off the other side also, because there isn't a real framing effect going on, and I trimmed off a little too much of the other cardstock to make that fit so it doesn't obstruct the Z-fold on the other side. Next, we're going to put some clouds on the upper portion. We're using the On Cloud 9 dies. There are 6 cloud dies in this die set, and it came out I think in March. It's still available. It's adorable, and I have used it many times on several different cards because it does have such a variety of sizes of little clouds. We're even going to put a cloud in the Z-fold on the left hand side. I do know my right from my left, I promise. Usually I'm doing right and left on a patient. So if I'm standing here looking at a patient, that would be their right. Next, we're going to use this adorable stamp set, Sweet and Savory Sentiments. That just came out. That is a really cute sweet, and I promise I'm going to make a cute camper card with that set soon. We're going to use the Happy Birthday from that set. It fits perfectly on the front of this card. I did stamp it with some Versamark clear embossing ink and use some brass embossing powder. And I'm going to use one of the smallest dies from the Precision Layering Mini Slimline set. This happens to be the B version. And look at that Instant Sentiment Banner die. Just going to adhere that directly to our card base, and I like that the white cardstock really makes it pop so you can see the happy birthday, and it kind of grounds our images too. Next, we're going to use this other sunflower since we have it, right? May as well throw it on there. I'm going to add that to the front of the card, and it actually kind of frames up our scene because we've got sunflowers on both ends of it. And then we're going to create our piece for the wiper card, or the flat. I've stamped it in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and I used some clear embossing powder over the top of that so it would be nice and raised and shiny. And I'm heat setting that with my heat tool, and then I will trim that out just with my paper trimmer. And now I'm going to trim off some of that extra wiper mechanism and use a piece of acetate. This is just a scrap. In my bin, I have little slivers of acetate that I've saved to do this exact thing. This way, the wiper mechanism is hidden. It doesn't distract from your background. So then I take my little acetate pick with my sentiment, and I get that placed on our wiper arm so that it pops up right above our little gnome's head. And I make sure it's not sticking out below the card, and it's not getting caught up in the edge of the Z-fold on the right side of the card. That is the entire card. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I had fun making it. Let me know which part you enjoyed the most. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment to do that now. Comments and likes help me tremendously. And if you're interested in any of the product that I used today, check that description box below. As always, we also have all of the products that I used today linked in that description box. Until next time, here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Bye-bye.